Hey guys, Chris with Nichols Retirement Empire. I went down to the post office today and good night. Today is, you know what the day is? April 15th, tax day. Woo, man, that place was packed out. The whole parking lot was full. That's one of the busiest, that was like Christmas time busy. But anyway, tax day. Now we paid our taxes a while back. And we had to pay taxes this year for the first time ever. But we had a lot of income that was not, like money from her cookbooks and stuff like that, that we don't, it's not taxed up front. So anyway, we ended up paying some taxes this year. A lot of tax. We paid a lot of, I paid a lot of money. It was a lot of money. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's making me upset. But anyway, upsetty spaghetti. Y'all heard that? Upsetty spaghetti. So I'm upsetty spaghetti. But anyway, it's that day. Everybody's got to go pay the government or get their money back from the government. I'm gonna tell you one thing. Our government needs a lot of money to do all the things it does, and it does a lot. They spend a lot of money. And I had a job working, my job was a government job. I worked for the state government. And, my wife never really understood this, the way we operate. I tried to explain it to her, but it didn't. Because she always worked in a business where they were operating with the intent to make a profit. So they wanted to be efficient, and they wanted to spend their money in a way that they're going to get the best return. The government does not operate that way. The government only operates basically to spend money. And I think the government does make an effort, depending on, and I'm talking about everything from a local town, a small town government, a county government, all the way up to the federal government. I think, in general, they do want to, make the best use of the money. But the bottom line is they are not equipped to do that. For example, I had a budget for my department, and they would tell me every year your department gets $1,500, or $2,000 or whatever, for supplies and stuff for your department. And we all knew that we needed to spend every single dime. And if we didn't spend every single dime, then they would look and say, you know what, you didn't spend all your money last year, so you don't need as much money, so we're only going to give you $1,000 this year. And then the next year I might need more money. So you spent it whether you needed to spend it or not. You found something to buy for your department that, and so you would go down to your school supply room, and you will find in pretty much any given school a bunch of stuff that is stockpiled up, books and maps and whatever kind of materials that have just never, there would be things in our stock room when I was an administrator that I would go in and look that had never even been opened. And the teachers had no earthly idea they were down there. I mean, it was just like, and I would tell them, go down to the, I need such, it was probably down there. If you'll go look, we don't have enough stuff. Go down there and look. There's stuff in the room, that you could probably use. And then, they earmark the money for certain things. So it might be, we desperately need a new computer for such and such, well, you can't spend this money on it because this money is only meant for, this, and you can't spend it on a computer. Well, we need a computer. Like when I had a room, I was at this one school, and my floor was coming apart. The tile was coming up off the floor. Kids would walk up to me and hand me a piece of the tile. You go, this came up off the floor, Coach Nichols. You know, and I'd, okay, thanks, and I'd throw it in the garbage. I mean, and the room had not, I don't know when the last time the room had been painted, and it had blinds, and it had real big tall windows. It was in a gym, and the blinds were all the way up at the top of the windows, and they were probably 15 feet up in the air, and they looked like they were about to fall at any second. And I was in that room 7 years. The whole time it looked like those blinds were going to fall on some kid's head. And they came into my room one year, and they said, do you want a new computer? And because this was back before we all had computers. And I was like, no, I don't want a computer. Okay. They came back the next year. Do you want a new computer? No, I don't want a new computer. They came back the next year. And they came in wheeling in a brand new computer. And if you recall, back in the day when computers first started, they were expensive. And this was a nice computer, and an expensive computer. And so they wheel it into my room, set it up, you know, and they're like, well, you're getting a new computer. I said, could I get my blinds, you know, where they won't fall on some kid's head? And could I get, nope, no, this is a computer, you know, how much does this thing cost? And they told me, and I was like, oh my Lord, you know, you could have done all this stuff in it, you know. No, that's not, you can't do that. This money is meant for computers. Okay, so I got the brand new computer. But that's the way the government operates. Money goes, and it, you know, and it's not their fault. You know, like I said, they are not in business to make money. They're not in business to be efficient. They're just in business to govern. And governing takes a lot of money. And it's our fault, you know, because every government that's ever been established in the history of the world gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more complicated and more, no matter what you do. The only time your government gets smaller is if your government is, I mean, there has to be like a revolution and the government is destroyed and you get a new government. Then the government might be a little smaller, okay? Like the American Revolution. We were part of this big empire. It had, you know, territory all over the world. A quarter of the world's land at one point in time was controlled by the British Empire. And we came over here as citizens of the British Empire with their permission to come over here to take advantage of, you know, land and things like that that we could get that we could not have gotten in Britain. And we came over here and, you know, we were doing very well. Our colonies were doing great. We were, you know, making a living. We had freedom. We had, you know, opportunity and all this kind of stuff. But we didn't like the government telling us what to do, because the government over in Britain was trying to tell us what to do over here, and we felt like we needed to control our own selves over here. And they would tell us stuff like, don't go into those territories because you're going to start a war with the Indians, or you're going to start a war with the French. And we'd go over there anyway and do it anyway, and we'd get into a big mess. And then we'd, hey, y'all gonna come over here and protect us? The Indians are attacking us. We need the army over here, you know. And they're like, well, the army costs a lot of money. We'll send them over, you know. And so it kind of continued on. And so finally we just decided we didn't want their government anymore, and we were able to get rid of their government. And then we started a smaller government. And since we started that government, it has gotten bigger and bigger. You know, we started off, we made some laws, and we had a constitution, and we had an Articles of Confederation, and that was all the laws. That was it. That was the whole set of laws that we had for the federal government. And guess what has happened? Over time, we have added laws and added laws and added laws and added laws and added laws. And we have books and books and books full of all these laws. And the government has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and billions of dollars they spend. And that's just the way it is. And it never gets smaller. It never downsizes, historically. Now, maybe we're going to be smart, and maybe at some point our government will step back and you go, know what? We need to quit spending so much money and providing. And here's the problem, and it's our fault, because we want the government to give us things And when they don't give us things, we get mad. We want nice roads to drive on. If we don't get nice roads, we get mad. We want protection, you know, from people committing crimes and things like that. And when we don't get the protection, we get mad. We want the other countries not to mess with us. And if the other countries mess with us and we don't go over there and take care of it, we get mad. You know, and if, you know, we want everything. We want school. We want our kids to get a great education, and we want it to, we don't want to have to pay a bunch of money. And if we don't get it, we get mad. We want the government to do all this stuff. You know, for example, at the school, if we had an assembly, and at the assembly we go out one time and we provide food for everybody at the assembly, you know, and we say, you know what, these people have to get off work and get over here early, and it's a real pain in the tail for their family. Let's provide pizza for them this time, you know, and that way we'll get more people to attend, and the parents will all be happy and all that kind of stuff. And you go out there and you buy the pizza and you give it to them at the assembly, and everybody's happy and eating pizza, and the kids are happy, and you know, you're thinking, wow, this was a great success. We were really smart to give all these people pizza and soda and all this. And so then the next time you have a big assembly, you're like, you know, we don't have enough money to buy pizza for everybody, so let's just, you know, have the assembly. And then all the people show up, and then they're all coming in the office going, y'all don't have any food? Where's the food at? See, once you give it to them one time, they expect it every time. They think you got to give them the pizza and the food every time they come down there because you did it that last time. So that's the way we are. When we get stuff from the government, we want to keep getting it. And if the government don't give it to us anymore, we get all mad. If the government says, yeah, we can't pay for that anymore. Whoa, 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 you've been paying for that for 20 years. What? How are we going to function if the government doesn't give it, you know? So it's our fault, and it's everybody's fault. This is y'all's fault. It's not my fault. I don't want the government. It's all of us. It's just one of those things. It's the way it is. In the United States of America, the government keeps getting bigger. That's all I got to say about that. As far as government say. Y'all have a good day, a good tax day on Nichols Retirement Empire. If you have any questions about government, believe it or not, I taught government at one time. I taught U.S. history, government, all that kind of stuff. And I would tell my kids, you know, kind of how things operated, try to make it halfway realistic, but I don't know if any of them learned anything. I did a lot of teaching. I don't know if there was a lot of learning that went on.